Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the pod where we chat, argue, and wax poetic about the movies, book, games that we love or that are simply worth talking about. All items of media have something to say, and we love trying to analyze what they capture. Welcome to the Chatter After. I'm joined by Mike, Cliff, I'm Brandon, and we are talking Bahubali Dos, the conclusion. Because if you, I know you guys loved our coverage of RRR, Rise, Roar, Revolt, nailed it. And I mean, those who haven't seen it, I always said it wrong. Um, and you've probably seen our
Good job.
coverage. Um, that feels worse now. Um, I know y'all loved our coverage of Bahubali, the beginning, and now, of course, there's nowhere else to go than Bahubali, the conclusion. Um, I have a lot to say about this movie. I figure we jump right in, and I love that we're able to continue this series on Telugu Hindi movies because these movies are something else, and they all have something awesome to share with the world, especially to us that really don't have a lot of connection with that world. But it gives us a way in into what goes on in these creatives' minds. And the first one threw us for a nice loop. This one did it for me in very different ways. I feel it's a very different movie in comparison to the other one, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So, Cliff, as we go around the table, we start to giving our first impressions on Bahubali to the conclusion. What were your thoughts on this one?
I love cinema so much. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. Um, I watched this movie last night. I had a day off, and I decided partake in some recreational things. If y'all get my drift and whatnot, because I was ready for this movie, and it took me until like 1 o'clock to finish this because I just kept pausing every 10 minutes because I just couldn't believe what was happening to me on screen because this movie is great. I agree with Brandon. This I don't even know what genre this movie would be put into, what combination of genres to put this movie in. All I know is for 2 hours and 45 minutes, I laughed, I cried, I got angry, I fell in love with multiple characters. Superb fantasy epic, like amazing, and it makes me angry at like some American cinema movies that we have right now. But that's a conversation for later.
Mike.
I love this movie because it's essentially just The Lion King. When you really think about it, it's The Lion King.
Yes.
And
Yes.
also, I'm looking at the wiki for this movie, and to kind of just piggyback on Cliff's point of being angry at American cinema. The first one was made for $37 million. What are we doing? Where movies are $200 million and they look worse than this? like I don't know where that money's going, but for Bahubali, the conclusion, I love everything about this movie. It's like you said, it's very different from the first, but I think that's to its strength because I think I enjoyed this one more than I did the first one. Funny enough,
Agreed.
and I love how it's called the conclusion, but it's essentially a prequel to the last one, and like the very last sliver of the movie, it's just like, oh yeah, let's go
Yes.
back, let's go back to
Yeah,
present
low
day and see
key.
how that works out.
Yep.
Mike, can I add to that with you? When I was watching this movie, I kept pausing as well because I was like, wait, is there going to be part three? Because I know it says it's a conclusion, but I feel like we're never getting back to this main group of characters. We've been with this
Yes.
one family for almost 3 hours now. I don't,
Yes.
and I was like, we're never getting back here. It's called the conclusion, but there must be a part three in the works
Yes.
somewhere because there's no
Yes.
way they're going to tie this all in like a nice bow by the end of it. So I'm with you on that, Mike.
I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more. I think maybe because I enjoyed the storyline of the past a lot more because it was a lot more complex. And to me, that was the biggest strength of the surprise of part one, which was, oh, don't worry, the last hour and a half of the movie is just the backstory of how we got to this point. And then this film, apart from the fact that we get an amazing anime opening, like last time on Dragon Ball Z, you get like the opening with music, with credits, and all the
Mm-hmm.
different like slides of important events.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, the fact that they do him like stone marble drawings makes him look a lot creepier and crazy. Go.
But I love it. It's amazing. Because the last time we saw something like that in like American cinema was the ending scene, was like the ending rolling credits of Age of Ultron when we saw any
Bro.
kind of Marvel related
Yes.
things.
Bro.
That's it.
Bro.
That's what
Yes.
it was.
Yes. Which is one of the best end credit sequences of all time. Also
Which
because
again,
it's such a and also because it's such a stark contrast to the end
mhm.
credits of the first
Ha,
Avengers.
Stark. I'm sorry.
Dragon Ball
Continue.
Z, Age of Ultron, Stark. Well done. And trust me, I got Game of Thrones references here because
And
this
we're
movie
only
just
6 minutes in.
because this is just Game of Thrones. Like it's in the best way. Like the whole
Mhm.
shenanigans and all that stuff. But I love how it all sets up like what happened before. But the movie doesn't pick up where we left off the story. It picks
No.
off where we left off the flashback. And then it just
Mhm.
keeps going. And
And
then
that's my only
two
problem with the
hours,
movie.
and then 2 hours and 10 minutes in. Oh, by the way, yes, we're gonna finish this. And you're like,
It's
this is
like,
it?
you remember Avantika, the love interest of Mahendra? Yeah, we don't ever mention her again until the last 10 minutes of the movie. We got you
No need.
invested in these characters, but
We don't even
exactly,
mention her. We just know she's there.
and that's my biggest problem with this movie. Is like, y'all gave me such a great like prequel war epic that you literally made me forget about why I was even
We did
here.
the whole boat penguin ride from Batman Returns and that whole Garden of Eden thing, but she's no
Mhm.
longer important. Damn it.
I was gonna say, just to add to real quick about the opening sequence of this movie. This is another reason why I get angry with American cinema, because the outside of that, the only other time I get a beautiful and engaging opening like credit sequence is with James Bond movies or with Quentin Tarantino. No one else does it anymore, and I feel like it is such a missed like part of the art form. Like, get me engaged. Spend 5 minutes with me. Tell me the cast. Give me some visuals. Give me the music. This is what I need,
Like you kind of get a
and we
little
don't
bit
do
of
it
that.
anymore.
You get a little bit of also like in like heist movies, which according to Rick and
Mm-hmm.
Morty shouldn't exist. But but it has to be like a very quirky event film for it to get like to justify a colorful introduction to the world. But you're right, it's such an effective way to start a story, an effective way to start a continuation of a story, right? Because even though it appears that the films were kind of like filmed back to back, I kind of get a sense that they were filmed back to back.
Mm-hmm.
It took 2 years before the second, like the first one came out in 2015, the second one came out in 2017. So what a great way of re-engaging the audience, right? Because we're still telling the same story. But yeah, it did throw me into a loop where we go like, oh no, we're back with Amarendra and Katappa with the Blackbeard, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I wasn't even mad. It just kept going. And I'm like, oh, we're never gonna cut back, are we? It's like we got 45 minutes in, and like I'm invested in this. I'm
Yes,
vibing with it,
yes,
but this is not the conclusion I thought I was getting into.
no, yes, and the biggest thing is this: the last thing in the first part is setting up the truth that Katappa killed Bahubali, right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
spoilers.
Which I forgot happened.
Which spoilers, because if you're watching this video on part two, we're assuming you watched part one, so
Mm-hmm.
it's your fault. If you're
Right. Don't blame us. You clicked on this video and pressed play. Okay.
yes.
You're like 9 minutes into the video. Like, there's come on.
So the fact that it didn't pick up right from there was like, okay, I don't know what to do now.
It threw me for a loop because we talked about this in the last recording. When we started going all timey wimey, but the same actor is playing both roles,
Yes.
like I'm like, okay,
It
these are
threw me way
I,
off watching this.
these are the same two actors from the last movie, and we left off
Mm-hmm.
with "I killed your father," and I'm like, oh, so we're just never going to address that he killed his father. Like a good 10 minutes. I'm like, oh
No,
wait,
no, no.
pass,
Now,
got it.
now I am gonna say it was a great buildup towards recreating the scene where it happens.
Yeah.
and yeah, was a Loki Hamilton references. It was it I it
Yes,
just
I love this. I
it
love
was
it.
right there. Um,
Du- du- du-
because
du- 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 du.
the rumor it happens. Um, so we know that there was a wall of fire, and he, that's the thing. I love the fact that the buildup was so intense and so powerful that even though we knew it was coming, it still hit, because we can't say it didn't hit. It was still
Yeah.
like, damn,
Oh, it hit. It hit,
it hit,
baby.
it
It hit
hit hard.
hard.
And then this crybaby of a lion cub scar like person, Bhallaladeva, whatever his name is,
Oh,
start
Bhallaladeva.
yeah, Violet Davis. No, that's I'm not doing that. Just starts,
That's a different king.
yes, Woman King.
Yes.
Start just destroying him with the axe. It was disgusting, but yeah, the movie's now. Let's go back.
He
So
literally has a scar on his face. I want to make that. That's why I'm calling this the Lion King. He kills the dude. He backstabs him. Has a scar on his face. Long live the king. And the son has to come back and take him down. It's the Lion King, man. I'm telling you.
even
That's
though
fair.
this Simba is a lot angrier than, yes,
Then
So,
it's yeah.
He even grew up around a waterfall with Timon and Pumbaa. When you really think about it, I'm just saying. I see the
And
vision.
Katappa.
oh, and by the way, the baby being raised
I was about to
as
say
the
the
new
baby.
king,
Even yeah.
like Grandma Rafiki
Mhm.
there. So I love the expansion. I love the idea of them touring the kingdom, of them just having fun. Him and Katappa just going around and learning about the subjects, like doing what a prince should do, right? But I love the
Yeah.
fact that he was doing it low key incognito until he meets Cena, Warrior Princess.
Devasena. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I talk about a great use of makeup, because I didn't catch that it was the same actress, and she looked a
Wait,
lot
is it?
younger. Yeah. David Sena plays the same role throughout the entire movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. My
So
bad.
it's
Sorry.
like that's one of those moments like, okay, bet. Makeup, well done.
Mhm.
But I do love the whole, like, the fact that he's trying to make her think that he's nothing, but she knows. Like, that was a nice little flirtatious like thing going on there.
Way less creepy than the first movie. So that's
Bro.
good.
Again,
Way
Penguin,
less creepy, but
Batman
still
Returns.
very creepy. Since we're
Yeah.
pretending to not be who we are.
Well, but here's the thing though.
Like I understand why, but
But it's
it
not
still
as
was a
creepy
little
though,
weird.
because he literally,
Very fair.
the first one,
There's no weird drawing fishes on people's hands in this one, so we're good. We're at a higher level of respect and consent.
there's
in
no
this
No
movie.
weird
mask fetish.
there's no weird
Mhm.
undressing, and actually there's some badass undressing, and I'm gonna
You
that
took it
sounds
right out of
from
my mouth, Brandon.
yes, like that moment when she takes the freaking torch and literally you get that Hunger Games reference. Like literally
Mhm.
his thing catches on fire, and he has like the whole, for some reason
Yeah.
he had a battle armor suit underneath it, because
Makes no sense to me, but we're
because
here. Okay,
because
love
Bollywood,
it.
bro.
Well, it goes
Mm.
to like Cliff. You tweeted after you watched this movie that he's one of your favorite superheroes. That is that is such a Batman thing to do. It's like, of course, I have the whole bat suit, cowl and all, under my Bruce Wayne suit. Makes no sense, but we buy it.
It's like
And to add to that, that moment that we talked about with Katappa murdering Bahubali, what happens before that? Think about that one cinematic shot that takes place. Lightning hits a tree.
bro.
Yep.
That's the most epic superhero moment I've ever seen this year. Like, I don't even care this movie came out in 2017.
Yo,
Nothing
he
compares.
did nanomachines before Tony Stark in Infinity War. Like,
How is this movie
as is
$37 million?
Rajamouli, it's just, he's taking it to whole nother
And we
level.
missed this.
Yes,
We
we
missed
did.
both of these
Yes,
movies.
we did.
Like, how? It baffles my mind.
Do we like the whole Jirai Naruto vibes that we get
Yep.
with Katappa?
Mhm. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I want your guys' thoughts. Because for full disclosure, I'm editing part one as before we started recording this, so like our conversation is really fresh in my brain, and a lot of things that we were focusing on was like the tonal shifts throughout the first movie, because it's essentially like three different stories in one, essentially in the first one. How do you guys feel? And I guess I'll toss it to you, Cliff, right quick. How do you feel about
Mm.
this being like a full on romance for like the first 45 minutes, in contrast to the war we left from the last film?
I feel like it was needed once we get towards the end of the movie because
Mm-hmm.
we learned about Mahendra's, like we learned what happens, but seeing how his parents actually come together, I felt like was very necessary because it adds more of an emotional beat for for us and just knowing seeing how what happens when she finally comes to the kingdom and all that stuff. So just this movie being just a romance for an hour, it worked for me. I love it. I felt giddy. I felt like I wanted to be there. Be like, oh, I would love to dance with both of you. I would love to be in an action sequence with both of y'all. Where y'all are teaching each other. Playing cute, funny games. Oh, kill the wild hog before the princess does. Blah 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 blah. Or oh, princess, when you holding three bows, turn your hand this way. And just like that's right. You better teach her. She's your equal, but you still gonna give her some tips. I love that. She's powerful. She's strong.
Yes.
But here's just a little extra tip, real quick. It's gonna make you even better. The same way she does it for him. I love it. It's beautiful, and also it made me forget. Again, this movie goes through so many shifts in tone that I forget why I'm actually there. That I get you get so engrossed in just what's happening
Yeah.
in front of you that you forget that there's more left and you forget what you've already seen a lot of times. So to answer your question, I love that whole first hour of romance. I needed it.
I agree with Cliff. Also, I do find it interesting that looking at it from afar, right? It has literally the same structure as the first one. The first act is the romance. The second act is the conflict that the romance that the conflict that comes out of the romance being a thing, right? And then the third act is the final battle against whatever the final battle needs to be against with, right? I just feel that the only thing that works against it is how you go all the way back to the ending of the first film at the end of this film, as opposed to having a little bit of moments in between.
Mm-hmm.
But the structure is the same, and I actually appreciate it because he still does it very successfully. And the whole sequence of how he reveals himself and was actually pretty awesome. And of course, he's a superhero.
That he is.
Yeah,
I,
he is.
I love the opening moments of this film where he's behind like that giant wall, and then you just see it crack, and he just busts it open. Like, oh yeah, I forgot. This guy is super strong. We back, baby. Let's do it. Because he just
Which
destroyed the
I think
door.
I think that's another testament to this movie because I have one question for y'all to add to just the character entrances and seeing Bahubali as Mike said smash through the door to one help his mother not miss a step to break this curse, which okay, y'all just introduced that, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to this movie because is it me or did the visuals in this movie feel more grand to you than the first one? When we're going to,
Yes.
you know, different kingdom locations, epic character moments and all. It just seems like visually and cinematography wise, it just seems like they put more emphasis on those things as opposed to the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also because the way I see it is it makes all the sense in the world because in the first film, you have to spend all that time at the main kingdom of Mahishtama, Misami, or whatever it would is. I love how the first one really focused solely on that. And you get a little bit of a glimpse of somewhere beyond that, but it's only in the beginning because you got to find Mahendra or Shiva, how we called him first, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the second one really takes advantage of the fact that we already know everything we need to know about that kingdom, so we can explore everything else. So it shows how big the world actually is, even though we don't see everything, and it takes advantage of it. And it makes everything, all the locales, feel fresh. So I like how they took that the whole tour around the kingdom as an opportunity to explore all the different corners in making the world feel bigger. So it doesn't just feel bigger in terms of world, it feels bigger in what it does, because it looks like they have, because the whole thing with the whole statue and the statue at the end, and I don't know, but I didn't know that human cannonballs that actually, I did not know
That
that was,
was some Donkey Kong stuff, man. I'm telling you, they were just
yes,
barrels.
I didn't know that was a thing, but it worked. And it's like, but I love the fact that the way they set up the world, when you see outlandish shit like that, you're like, bet,
So
bet. And I love how right before it, he goes like, think like your father. It's like, okay, outlandish shit.
Mm-hmm.
that scene was kind of weird because it's like, how would he know how to think like his father? He's never met him. Like, what do you expect him to
You
do?
know why? Because he sat down through that 2 hour and 15
Oh yeah,
minutes.
we got the
Or
Loki
it's not
projector. We
that.
got it.
Oh, see, he did that, but also we got to remember what happens at the end. Which, spoiler alert, when Bhallaladeva is finally murdered or finally,
He
killed.
called him by all the.
What happens in that bad shot? Yeah,
Wait,
Bhallaladeva.
does that make the villain Amanda Waller? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, I would love to see Bhallaladeva in this role. Like, it would be amazing.
In
I
the
would love that.
American remake, do it. Why not? Screw it. The Woman King.
He would be good on anything.
Yeah, but like to add to that, like what that final shot that happens for Bahubali, and his father pops up behind him in the clouds,
Bro.
Or at least Simba and
The
his father
Lion
pops up.
King.
I'm just like, all right,
It's
y'all really giving me everything. Like I have chills just talking about this movie. Like I'm so this movie
to
is
go back
fantastic.
to what Cliff was saying, because I didn't give my thoughts on it. As far as like the cinematography and the scope, I think part of that, and again, not trying to harp on it, but it really is the Lion King in the sense that since this is a prequel, right? Think of the Lion King. As soon as Scar becomes king, the Pride Lands are destroyed. They're decimated. The beauty is gone. But by this being a prequel,
You can
and
see
we're
all the beauty.
seeing
Yes.
the beauty
Yes.
of what that kingdom was. And in the first film, we didn't really explore it because we're seeing it through Shivudu's eyes, because he had to climb that freaking waterfall to get there for like half the movie. So he never got to see what his parents saw and why it's important to protect that kingdom. And so we have those Peter Jackson level sweeping shots across the plains and the mountains, right? And I think that is just again signifying when Bhallaladeva takes over and it slowly dwindles away. And when you get to that final battle, it doesn't look as pretty. And I think that's very intentional of like, yeah, they've been here for 25 years. He didn't run it into the ground like Scar did, like that movie turned it up to 11 with how messed up Scar ruined the Pride Lands.
Yeah.
But it's still like,
But
it's not as
prosperous.
prosperous, right? It's not as prosperous. It's not as beautiful as it once was. And that's what we're fighting to get it back.
Yeah.
And so I think just from that perspective, cinematography wise, Rajamouli did a fantastic job kind of like showcasing that just visually at the start of this film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, the whole boat sequence. So we talked about the beginning, the romance, the attack, the nanomachines, and now we get to the
Mhm.
boat. Apart from the fact that you know the real men would let a woman just walk on top of him. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing about throw your coat on the puddle and the whole thing. He took it to another level. Respect.
You are so lucky Isaac is not here after hearing you say that word.
I don't. Wow. So, but I do love the fact that we get a whole One Piece dream sequence. Bro, this boat has
Favorite part of the movie for me.
it has the whole swan thing, the weird sails, the coloring, because it's all CG, is very different and very bright. They go to Skypiea,
Yes.
like it's bro. Well, they got magic powers in this scene for some reason.
everyone has powers in this entire franchise for some reason. It's never really explained, but except for even the one guy who like couldn't break the branch, who was like vowing for Devasana's hand before Bahubali. It's like even somehow he gets powers halfway through this. But I'm with you on that whole swan scene, because a part of me was also just like, is this their Aladdin moment? And I hate to make that reference,
Yes.
but this is literally what I thought about when I saw it. I was just like, is this
Oh,
I Can Show You the World?
Bali.
Actually,
Yes.
that's actually beautiful. Like, I love that.
Yes,
Like that, you need to write a cover of that somehow.
it's gonna happen. It's
And
got.
make it.
Don't put
But
me out there, bro. People are gonna come back in the comments and be like, "Where is it?"
that's true. That's fair. But
It'll be on
That
Patreon.
whole sequence is beautiful. Yeah, you want that? You want that performance? You're gonna have to pay. Let's go. I'm with you, y'all. If y'all ever get Rajamouli on here, I'm going to be in the live chat with y'all. Be like, yes, ask all the questions, because we need to dissect this man's brain.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
The guy's amazing.
yeah, that entire sequence, beautiful. One, that boat is a real set with so much CGI behind it. Like, hey,
Yes.
American cinema. See how this happens? Remember what James Gunn was talking about superhero fatigue? It's not a fatigue. We just want this. This is the kind of we want more spectacle and really interesting characters like this. This is what we need. Y'all don't need the biggest budget to do this.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it being done in every other country.
It kind of, just to piggyback off that point, it's amazing because I'm gonna be like, full disclosure, we know like there are some shots that don't look great in this movie when it comes to CG, but also if you give Rajamouli the $200 million that you gave Peyton Reed to make Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'm sure he would put that money to good use, and that's kind of the issue here. And
we don't care about how dumb the CGI looks in these movies,
and
because it works still.
Because it's a fun movie.
But that was going to be my next point too. You took the words right out of my mouth there, Cliff. Is that we can look past some of the weird shots, because, like Brandon has said, the freaking anime opening had us hooked. When the guitar riff comes in, like the Naruto opening kicked in, we were sold. I was ready to go. I'm like, all right, we back. Let's do it. Let's finish Bahubali, the conclusion. And we're able to look past some of the boat looks great in some shots, it doesn't look great in other shots, but we're so enthralled in what the movie's doing, it doesn't matter. And that's the biggest difference, is that American cinema leans on CGI as the spectacle, whereas Rajamouli has spectacle throughout the story, and CGI just...
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add to Mike's point, if you look at a comparison of the fantasy epics from America, if you look at like our war films or our Lord of the Rings, or even like The Patriot, things that we consider to be in somewhat of a similar vein to films like Bahubali, they're taken a little more seriously, so we don't, and like, don't get me wrong, Rajamouli, we know for a fact he cares about these characters and he's going to tell an excellent story with them, but he's going to have fun.
Yes.
Whereas here in America, we have to be serious. We have to, show how dangerous and how crazy these things were in some cases, and like, we don't really get to see this much fun when it comes to a lot of these fantasy films here in America. And last thing I'll say is to also add to that intro, the song and lyrics that take place. Like, I literally wrote down one of the lyrics were, "Victory will seek your feet to make amends complete." I was just like, okay, I'm here. I know what we're doing. You got me. Like, again, you get us hooked and invested within the first 5 minutes. That's a very difficult thing to do for people, for a lot of audiences, and like, to see this man now do that 3 times, like that's a feat within itself, I think, at least.
Lin-Manuel Miranda's been real quiet ever since that bar dropped. I'm just saying.
So
ever since Natu dropped.
So I think it also raises another question, right? Like, do we care about making engaging stories, or just to make something visually appealing? You know what I mean? Like, because when you have a creator that just wants to do their vision, they're going to do the best they can with whatever resources they have, but they're going to do the best they can. They're going to exploit every resource, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, it makes you think when you see certain films that you're like, okay. You get that, like, for example, one of the last movies that I can say that I've seen that is one of those films that exploits every resource, story wise, character wise. And this is going to sound like whatever, especially after the Quantum Mania comment. It's like, was Infinity War and Endgame, because it don't matter what the budget was, right? They literally did their very best in every corner that they could. Are there moments that are not perfect? There are a couple, but they literally took everything that works from the NCVU and make sure to turn it up to 11 here. But the problem is you kind of doubt or question if the same care is being put to the installments that you get in between. And that's where you feel the
Mhm.
fatigue. So it makes you think, is it really fatigue, or is it the fact that we're not exploiting the resources to actually provide the best content ever, period, with whatever the resources have? Because we're just so enthralled with the type of content and the quality of the intention of the content that everything else that is visuals, budget related stuff like that becomes something that's second tier for us, because we're just enjoying the experience, because we
Yeah.
come for an
Mhm.
experience. And these movies that Reggie Mooley has put out before us are experiences that we have been enjoying.
I think, like, I'm not trying to turn this into the MCU hate podcast, but I feel like that
That is
very
not the intention,
not the
even though a
intention.
lot of people hated Ant-Man. Go on.
It's not a good movie. It really isn't. But I I want to point out something, like a highlight of American cinema or Western cinema is Top Gun Maverick or John Wick Chapter 4, right? Like,
You took the words right out of my mouth, Mike. I
Bro,
was waiting. I was like, John Wick 4 is a great
just so
example
you know,
of
guys, we're going to do
everything
a
Brandon
John Wick 4
described.
episode. We're going to do a John Wick 4 episode.
I would love to join you all for
So,
that one.
so
Cliff's joining us
please,
for John Wick.
please, let's not give a lot of in-depth thoughts about John Wick, because there's a lot to talk about in this movie.
We're not. I'm not even gonna spoil like anything. Like, we're not gonna talk about it. I just want to like highlight. Going back to what you said, right? They wanted to make the best movie possible, and Tom Cruise does that with his Mission Impossible movies, with his
Yes.
Top Gun movies.
Yes.
Feige made sure they did that with those last two Avengers movies, and of course, the team who's working on John Wick did that with John Wick 4.
Yes.
And so there are moments where that happens here. It's just we get so many blockbusters. It could just be a volume thing of Marvel's turning out so many things. It's impossible for them to give the same level of care that they would Avengers Infinity War. Because we all know if they messed up those two movies, the MCU's dead. It's over. Like,
Yep.
all of that was a waste of time.
Correct.
So they had to pour all those resources into that, but now it's like, okay, we've got to get these shows off the ground, these movies off the ground, and Rajamouli is like, I'm going to take one film at a time. I'm going to do this movie. Same thing with Tarantino. I'm going to focus on my one project at a time, and that allows creativity to shine through a bit better. So that's not even a knock on the people who work at Marvel. That's just, I
It's
think,
just an observation.
an observation, but
Hmm.
also it's just that's kind of why Hollywood is a little bit broken, because they're so focused on franchises. It's like, make the movie good. Like, John Wick became a franchise because the first one was good. We just kept coming back.
And you know what's funny that you say that? I'll be right with you, Cliff. It's
Mhm.
because staying on the topic of American cinema and comparing, right? That's one of the things that I'm going to say it. Why Martin Scorsese is one of the greats. Because
You said
not
that like that's
only
controversial.
no. What I mean by that is he's one of those directors, just like Spielberg, that is constantly, prolifically putting out movies into the world. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
there's volume there,
Mhm.
but every movie that he makes, he gives 100% his attention and intention to. And then you have the other side of it, where you have Quentin Tarantino, that he literally said, "I'm making 10 movies and I'm out." But each of them movies,
My
though.
boy.
But each of them movies, though. You see what I'm saying? So it
Mhm.
really makes you think: is it a volume thing? It sounds like a care thing, but then
I
again,
was about to say.
this is
Mhm.
not a criticize. Again, it's not a Marvel thing, but it's the idea of creating art. Because one of the things that RR Bahubali 1 and 2 have showed is that there's so much care in everything. No matter how outlandish, how crazy it looks, how creepy it can be, how interesting it can be, everything has the utmost care. And I think that lovers of cinema, people that want to enjoy or have a good experience at the movies, they I think it's like the audience is smart enough that they can notice, they know that the creatives cared and are doing their utmost on this.
Yeah, I was going to share that to because I think both of you have it spot on. Because I was also going to say I and we'll get this when the John Wick 4 recording takes place, but I'd argue that John Wick 2 is really what set the rest of the franchise up for what we were really like truly expecting. Because that first movie is great, but I think John Wick 2 literally adds everything that we love about the fourth movie
Yep.
as like an introduction piece. But
Yes.
to add to everything y'all said about why Martin Scorsese or Steven Spielberg, because I even watched the first two Indiana Jones movies, which are amazing, and James Cameron, like like the man takes years to create the technology necessary to make the movies, whether we even like those movies or not. Because I know me and Mike are not fans of Avatar too, but like we can still give credit. Like, yeah, it still takes time to even make something like that. And I'll even add like Bong Joon Ho, and like just, there's just care put into this stuff, and I think the best way to describe it is like, yes, the MCU cares, but we also can see where they're putting more importance
Yes.
and where they're putting less importance into. They can't get these Avengers movies wrong. That's the biggest money makers for them in this franchise. They can't get Spider-Man wrong. Ant-Man, whatever. The character has his fans, but we're not really there for him. Like, yes, we're watching it, but
we got confirmation of that because one of the VFX artists came out and said we were working on Black Panther 2 and Ant-Man at the same time, and they straight up said prioritize Wakanda Forever. That's the one that matters. And get to Ant-Man when you can. This essentially was how that went. And it's like Wakanda Forever, fantastic movie, beautiful movie. You can feel the care that Ryan Coogler and the team put in it, and the resources that Kevin Feige, Disney, and Marvel were able to give them. It showed in that film. But then you have Ant-Man, which was essentially the leftovers. And that's what I mean by a volume thing of the people working on Ant-Man probably loved Ant-Man, but they were told prioritize this, and they did. And that's the result.
Right.
And it also goes to show, like, look at who we get to direct behind these movies as well. We get top talent. Like, we had Chloe Zhao directing Eternals, and if we allowed to give her the same amount of time that we give these Avengers films and Black Panther, we probably could have had another fantasy epic from Marvel on our hands, or so again, it just to reiterate, it goes into just one, where these studios are putting their emphasis on and where they're putting all their time and dedication to, and how much time they're even they're allowing their cast and crew to even work on these things.
Right.
So it's a downfall of at least big budget American cinema, unfortunately, especially when we look at all this stuff, because there's two other movies I have to talk to y'all about off screen that I think would be really great for this series, but I digress.
Now, going back to the movie.
Yes.
After the whole One Piece stream sequence, which was phenomenal, I find it interesting that the Kingdom went straight Game of Thrones / MTV, as Queen Mother literally sees Devasena as a homewrecker. Like,
I was just gonna say, I've made it known on multiple episodes of this show that how messy I am. Like, I just love all the drama. I just love the cattiness back and forth between these two. It is so funny.
Yep.
The political pageantry of this entire movie is hilarious.
Yes.
I
Entertaining.
love the idea that women as leaders are front and center of this film. I love that. Like, you have these strong, powerful actresses, which again I think also kind of heightens how bad it was that we got nothing of Mahendra's wife
For Avantika.
Yeah, we didn't get any of that, because she was pretty much presented as another strong female warrior. I think if it became more important that she was another one. She was perfect because she was part of a line of strong female characters that were going to be part of this family. But at the same time, I do love that they were front and center. Like even though we knew that Bahubali was
Which
doe-eyed with
one?
a lot of the situation and
Mm.
whatever, and we had Scar doing his thing and his father doing all this Game of Thrones shenanigans. The main forces were Queen Mother and Devasena just going at it, and it was great drama. Or in the words of the great Mike
Especially
Thomas, messy.
I love
look,
mess.
we love mess. We love messiness. Okay, that's why we love film. Like I'm here for drama.
Yes.
I'm here for people just doing nonsense in
Yes,
films.
yes,
But I agree with you, especially with these characters when they're not even the scenes when they're not even in contact with each other. There's tension. Just like, oh, you will marry my son. Said who? I didn't consent to any of this. So bye. Come back when you got some sense. And I'm just like, yes, thank you. This
yes.
is what I need.
I love the
Slay Queen.
like Brandon, you're saying Game
Literally.
of Thrones drama, but like I just love the entire messiness of
This is Real
Bhallaladeva.
Housewives.
Really, oh, she's supposed to be engaged to me. It's like, wait, okay, this is ridiculous.
Bruh.
This is over the top.
Which, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Bahubali falls in love with her because he sees her in person. Bhallaladeva falls in love with her from a painting.
But that's
You
the thing,
never
though.
even met this
No.
woman.
But that's the thing. He doesn't fall in love with her. He wants
That's fair.
he wants her, but he wants her because Bahubali wants her.
It's the sabotage.
Yeah.
I also love that Queen Mother is just like her eyes are dead. Like at the beginning of the movie, that's the first painting she sees. It's just like she knew.
No, it wasn't. It was a different one. It wasn't.
Was it? I feel
Yeah.
like that was the same. Are we sure?
No. I think
No,
it
it
was.
was the same photo. It was enlarged.
No.
Like somehow someone painted
The
it
one
faster,
that
I
she
think.
saw, the first one, because they made it a point. It was a different drawing altogether. And then when Queen Mother puts that aside, you see a mountain of them, of all the different
Right, but I felt like the movie was
invitations.
making a point of the one that the camera focused on was the same one that we see later on, which I thought was just
Yeah, it
setting
did.
up the because
Yeah,
I
it
thought
did,
that was
'cause,
just setting up the rivalry between them, like from the jump, from that point, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh no, it was.
I'm a-
There was the scene where Bhallaladeva sees the small portrait, like he unrolls it in whatever. I
right,
forgot
and that's
the
after.
parchment
That's
paper it's in.
after.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're
I have a
right.
feeling it was a different one.
Yeah, you're both right. Yeah, no, you're both right. She sees a different painting, but then Bhallaladeva learns about it, and then that's when the whole
Yes.
plot, which
And then Bhallaladeva expands it
his
to
dad is
bigger
messy as well.
to try and
Yes.
convince the whole thing with hey, I need this person. But yeah, I like the
You
whole
say,
thing
"Mama,
about you
I
can't,
need this woman in my life. Make it happen."
Mama.
Relatable.
Oh, can we talk about how Bhallaladeva is such a bitch? Like, apart from the
You
fact
mean
that
him
he
and his
can
uncle?
never be satisfied, but at the same time he does, hey
You'll never
ma,
be
I need this.
satisfied.
I thought it. I didn't say it.
Yo, see, here's the thing though. That's an epic song. Do not put the oldest
Right.
Skylar
I don't need to get
sisters
y'all
lyrics.
monetized.
Don't do that,
Demonetized.
bro. If anything, he's Aaron Burr, but that's a different story. But so he gets exiled, and of course he falls to Little Kingdom. I like the idea, like 100% he's a hero, but he's also an anime protagonist because wherever he goes, he literally becomes the leader of wherever he's at.
Believe it.
And I love how it goes from the important thing goes from being the lead character, right? But I don't know if you guys noticed, but towards the end of the second half, the end of the second act, right? Like if we're thinking that the third act is when we go back to the present, finally, like towards the end of that second act, it really doesn't matter that Bahubali exists. What really matters is the effect that he has on people. Like how people react to him, how people rally behind him. That is like 100% anime OP main character power. You know what I mean? Like he's sitting there, he's teaching the kids how to fight. Everybody's like feeding him because he shared food and he was left without food.
Didn't we
He-
just talk about this on our My Hero Academia review?
yes,
Mhm.
yes, he's All Might. Um, it's
Universal storytelling, baby.
yes, but yeah, it's
Beautiful.
tons of
Because he's a man of the people, essentially,
yes,
in this.
Yeah,
Like, he's
that's
how I imagine like Clark Kent would be if Clark Kent didn't have a secret identity. Essentially.
well, that's Clark
I,
Kent from Kansas. You know what I
I
mean? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
kind of like Clark and Superman and Lois too, right? Like
yes,
in that community of Smallville, he's still very much that type of force in a different way, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
But I think that just kind of highlights, like, I want your guys' thoughts on Queen Mother, like as a character, because while she's not evil, I feel like they go out of their way to show that she's not a great leader. She's very uh prideful, and she doesn't like being disrespected or even
right,
confrontation in that way, like being challenged. And so that affects how she rules the kingdom. And I think that is an interesting contrast to both Bahubalis because it just kind of makes you question what would it have been like if he was the leader, if he wasn't killed, right? And
right,
then seeing what the future of this kingdom is going to look like going forward, I thought was kind of interesting how
right.
they played with that, because for a movie as goofy and funny and romantic as this one, there's still very much layers of gray in a lot of these characters. No one's all good except for Bahubali himself.
Yes.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. I wanted your thoughts on that, though.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the whole thing about Queen Mother because it's the whole Pride and Prejudice kind of argument, right? Like the idea that someone is shaped by their pride and how their pride gets in the way of them being the best they can be, even though they kind of want to be. Like, because when we first meet Queen Mother, she's like this symbol of justice, right? And then when she gets caught up in the feud between the brothers, when it's getting up there, right? It's is that internal conflict, and she has to pick between her boys, the right thing, and her pride just wins every single time because and that's where she fails as ruler, which is why that moment where she literally kneels down at Devasena, it's is that redeeming moment for her where she recognizes that she allowed her pride to get in the way. And I love the idea of also Devasena being in a way the same character as Bahubali, but just more ferocious because of her stature as a woman leader. You know what I mean? Because she is standing for the same things that Bahubali does stand for, but she's able to
Mhm.
have that more ample view and direct her ferociousness towards that, not allowing her pride to, you know, kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually very very cool.
Yeah, I was going to add to the Pride and Prejudice aspect of it. This is also we're seeing the struggle of what it's like for someone in power, and more specifically, um, this woman. She's someone who's struggling with trying to uphold tradition and these these values that were born within this kingdom, but at the same time, she's trying to be a mother to one, the child that she gave birth to, but then her adopted child. Essentially, it's like the Prince of Egypt with Moses and Ramesses.
Bruh.
Because I also just watched that last week
Preach,
because we're doing
bruh.
a recording of it. So it's that
Perfect movie.
struggle of one, beautiful again, another great fantasy epic.
A
Again,
lot of sand too.
it's all connected. A lot of sand too. A lot of sand, slavery. It's all there, people. It's all there for you. But
Anakin would hate it.
or who knows? He might love it. Like, oh, more people to kill. Dang,
Damn.
more people
Order
to force choke.
66 people.
Insane. Literally. But yeah, I think it's just a great example to show like here she is, this strong, powerful figure, especially since we don't see women like this in these type of stories often. And look at how much of a struggle she's also having. Very similar to if we saw men in the same situation. But now she's also trying to be a good mother to her natural born son and essentially the adopted son as well. And it's such a struggle because she literally tries to please us both throughout the entire movie.
Right.
But then once her pride gets in the way, that's when a lot of the traditional values that she has from this kingdom starts to, creep their way into her decisions. That's when her pride comes into play. That's when her respect for the kingdom and respect for the law comes into play. The respect for the rules and regulations that were set up in this world come into play. And I think it's just quite interesting because again, when we see her against Devasana, here she's someone who's she's fighting against all that. She's like, no, I'm not partaking in any of this pageantry. This is foolish. This is dumb. And her sitting at the throne, just allowing this stuff to happen, and then giving orders for some of these things to happen. It's just very interesting. It's especially for seeing how her arc takes place throughout this entire movie. It's devastating. It's sad, but it's also, I think, very relatable. As someone who you have to govern the entire kingdom and be a parent at the same time.
Yeah, it's not an
That
easy
is
thing.
stressful. Not an easy thing at all.
Yeah.
I understand her stress so much in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially when you got the snake uncle over here, just...
Okay, can we talk about this man? This man tried to use his disability as a reason for why he didn't become king. It's like, no, sir, you out here scheming. This is why you're trash.
Exactly.
This is why you were never king.
Correct.
And then he had the nerve to talk about, well, myself, well, me, my son, my grandson, and great-grandson all have to be slaves. I'm like, sir, you really going to say that? You got a whole kingdom full of slaves, but you going to use that as a reason for why your bloodline should be in power?
He's like the politician that gets. Okay. He's like the politician that gets excused from the table. He's like, "What happened? I have all I've done is serve, bro. Look at your DMs, bro. Calm down. We saw your DMs. We saw you. You've done. So you know what you're doing.
This is why you're indicted, sir.
Yeah.
I did nothing wrong. What I did was perfectly legal. You have nothing on me."
Okay, I might have convinced my nephew. Oh.
Yeah,
I might have convinced my nephew to kill, to manipulate, do some hush money here and there. But hey, it's all in good reason here, people.
No, but yeah, like that guy. I love how they go out of their way to make them so evil. I found that pretty satisfying. You know what I mean?
And he's very strong too, which I love.
Yeah.
That one shot of him breaking that pillar, I was just like, can you fight somebody? I just want to see that.
Yeah, I wonder if
I love when Katappa. I love when Katappa just slaps. It's like, here you go. You get a slap because you're a bitch. Like that's literally what happens.
But that whole scene though, when that setup was like, he asked him like, "How'd you know I was plotting?" He was like, "I could smell it." What you mean? I'm a slave. I just have this instinct.
And he literally uses the words against him. It's like, I'm a dog. Mm-hmm. I sniffed it. What you got? Mm-hmm. Now,
exactly.
So
beautiful.
So we're back in the present, right? That whole sequence where Amarendra dies, is killed, is as epic as it should have been.
Yeah. Crazy.
Did it take you guys a while to understand that Queen Mother was the one that saves the baby? Because it took me a while to make the connection. And I made the connection, of course. Not like as the movie goes on. Because I completely forgot the actress in the first film as she's running through the forest with the baby in her hands.
Well, I guess it depends. What do you mean by did I pick up on? Like, you mean when she first comes on screen, did I recognize her type of deal? Or
right. Like when she comes on screen in the flashback, did it make sense to you? Oh, this is the lady that was carrying the baby in the beginning.
Again, this movie does so much. Like, I was literally confused. I was like, wait, am I following?
There's 5 hours in
Bahubali
between of her running from the yes.
Mm-hmm. Literally, yeah. And like, and it's not a fault of the movie. It's just like, you're just so entertained by what's taking place that you forget. They're like, oh yeah, this is the same actor. Or like, oh yeah, that's right. His grandmother is the one that saves or sacrifices herself for this to happen. So I'm with you on that. I think there are some moments where you're just like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about this. But that's just by nature of what's taking place.
I'm I suffer from facial blindness like Mike Guy, so it's just like, you look familiar. Are you Itachi Uchiha? No, that's Sasuke, you
Mm.
moron. That's literally how Mike Guy is all the time. You know, like that's me in this situation. It's like, yeah, when it happened and she ran away with the baby, that's when my brain went, oh yeah, that was a thing that happened. But like
Yeah.
no
I,
point up until that point, I think about
no,
it.
and you know what's funny? After doing all the backstory and all the flashback, that's the one thing we don't get. We don't see her arrive at the village and
Mhm.
going through the river. We just see her fall in the river and like, oh no, we're going back to the present. It's like you could have just taken us back and just shown us that she was the one that saved the baby, but still,
I think
it's
he
You know what makes it
at that
great?
point he knew that we knew. He
yeah,
knew that we
yeah.
knew.
Mm.
But it was one of those
But you
things
know
that's
what also
like,
makes it even better?
what?
It's literally the opposite of Moses' story. This time the queen delivers the baby to the village people in order to save the kingdom. It's
Deliver
literally the
us, boom
opposite.
boom.
See, you get it. You get
I
you
get
see you get what I'm trying to say.
Prince of Egypt again is like top 3 movies of all time for me. I totally get what you're saying. So
That's fair. Shout out to DreamWorks.
So can we talk about Bhallaladev's chariot that was inspired by Twisted Metal? Like the fact that it makes a comeback and it literally now shoots arrows because of course we have to modify it. I don't think it
Mhm.
shot arrows in the first one. Did it shoot arrows in the first one? I think it was just
I
the
don't. We
it,
know he just it was just the spinning things and he just threw spears. I don't think it shot arrows at the time
nope, I don't think so.
because they put emphasis on that moment when it also happened in the
yes.
movie.
That's a lot of arrows. Oh, by the way, quivers refill themselves. I'm sorry, Hawkeye. It's totally acceptable here. It's not acceptable we're like throwing everything at Marvel today. But it
You know what's
was
sad? I'm literally wearing a Hawkeye shirt, man. Like, calm down.
no, but still. So to me, the third act was probably the necessary ending. It wasn't. It was a great set piece after set piece after set piece. I do like the connection with the whole trial by fire thing, where Devacena is doing
Mhm.
like the walk with the
That was so intense.
yes, yes. Everybody needs to stop her, and the son of the statue falls down, and she literally says, "In your face, Bill Dave." Like that was good.
Mhm.
That was very good.
It's amazing. Which shout out to Bhallaladeva being a great villain.
Yeah.
Such a good antagonist. The actor, I don't remember your name. I'm sorry, I don't have the cast list up here, but fantastic job in both movies. Because remember, in the first movie, we don't really bill him as a villain. Like we can tell that there's some history
Mhm.
there, or like there's some animosity, but he never went full, mustache twirling villain until this one, and the switch was natural. I like the progression of that character, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, his name is Rana Dagubati. Rana Dagubati, who played Bhallaladeva.
Well
Because
done.
I have the IMDb list pulled up here. Yeah, I've been practicing. Every time a word popped up on screen that I did not know, I was like, Magamadi. Like, I still can't say it properly, but I'm like, I'm going to get it right.
We're
But yeah,
trying our
he's a
best.
very interesting villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we live
I d-
in American occupied states.
and also I
We have
do
a
like the
culture.
fact. I don't know if you guys noticed, but to me it was actually pretty. I found it as very good storytelling. You know how you have the villain. You know he's the cookie cutter mustache villain or whatever, where he's trying to rationalize that he's evil, right? I love the fact that they took the time to make him go full on tyrannic villain because it wasn't just like I thought that having the kingdom and all this thing would it be enough and I'd be satisfied. But no, what made me satisfied was seeing David Sena walk, be imprisoned. Like the fact that he was able to say those words with that intensity, you're like, oh shit, that's kind of messed up. But kudos, bro. I know at least I know what you want.
Yeah, it's wild because also when you think about just how he was set up prior, like, I just want the throne. That is all I want. I do not care about anything else. but then to turn or just do a whole twist of like, oh, now I just care to make your life a living hell.
That's all I need.
That's it.
No, but
That's
also
all I
like
need.
I love the evolution, right? Because that's part of the storytelling, the little simple things. Like he wanted the throne, that's all he wanted. But then what happens in his coronation ceremony? Everybody's screaming
More epic
Bahubali.
moments.
Yeah. What'd you say?
More epic moments happen.
Yes.
Because that's that entire sequence. My goodness. From start to finish. The Elephant Squadron. The support squadron. Bow to your king. I'm just like how do you have time? How much time does it take to do all of this?
And it's all
I can't
CG
imagine.
because they don't hurt animals. Damn
All
it.
CG.
Yes.
We didn't get the giant text this time, but like we know, we understood. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
That's the
but
thing.
Let's
Oh,
talk
sorry,
about
go
the
ahead.
cows with their horns on fire.
What was that?
It was a thing.
epicness.
It was a thing. It needed to happen. Do you know what that looks like? It looks like when Atreus does the summons in God of War. That was just a
Yes.
summon, and just
I
like
was literally thinking that. I was literally
Manista!
thinking that. Only this time it's like, but I can also see Atreus turning into that kind of animal himself with the fire.
yes,
So like I can
yes.
see that.
Yo, Santa Monica,
Oh,
we got things for you.
I don't understand how in both Bahubali movies that we have talked about God of War Ragnarok in some capacity. Like, what are the odds that it happened twice?
It means that these are good movies.
just referencing just all these good movies and games and fantasy epics that just like these things are amazing. Like I think we're just recognizing like how similarly they all do things, but the variety that they all provide us is
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like talking about this has me excited for the HBO God of War series because I'm just like I've seen Bahubali 1 and 2 and RRR, and I've seen how epic this can get. So HBO, I'm gonna need y'all to come correct, especially if it's in Greek mythology or Norse. I'm gonna need these fight scenes. I'm gonna need these characters to
It's
be.
gonna be Norse.
Oh, even better. I
And I
want
think
Big
it's
Body
Amazon,
Thor.
right? That's doing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be
I think
Prime.
it might be. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. In that case, I need Big Body Thor to be amazing. I need him to be my favorite character.
Yes, we get. So now, as we draw, we got into the end, right? We got to
The
talk.
conclusion of the conclusion.
Yes, of the
final
conversation, the conclusion of the conversation about the conclusion of an epic that we need to conclude.
Mhm.
So you know, so let's talk about the most epic moments. So I would say if you get one of the most epic moments by Bahubali, whichever version, it's the Avatar. It doesn't matter. It's the same person in different generations. Oh, by the way, how is it that Mahendra is a skilled warfighter just like his dad? Is there like
It's
a
genetic.
Avatar thing? Like we know that he's apt, but he's like a general. Like
Well,
It's just genetic. It's in the blood somehow.
okay, bet I'm good.
it's in the water, like the waterfall. Like he's just got magical abilities. He can
Yes,
the armor, the fire, the chair,
Really.
the Hunger Games thing. Like all of that is just like you said, genetic.
nanomachines. So
Nanotech.
so Cliff, what was your most epic Bahubali moment for the second movie?
Oh, it was literally the uh, lightning strike on the tree.
Bet.
I literally rewound that moment multiple times because it's literally you're seeing. I'm guessing it was the bandits from the previous movie that they fought, like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah. It looks
that
like
whole
it's the
war. I
same
guess it was
guys. Yeah,
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does the thing and he pulls the tree up, and you're like, this shot already is badass,
right.
but then it pauses. That lower angle, and then the blowback. I'm just like, y'all know what y'all doing. This is the hottest moment of this entire franchise. This is the most epic moment of this entire franchise, and it still makes you like giddy and and gives you goosebumps because there's so many other epic moments prior to that you somehow still manage to top it again.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen often in movies. You don't just give us almost 4 hours of a story, and then you put the cherry on top at the end of it. Like that's such a rare occasion. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my favorite like epic moment
Yeah.
in this movie. Like I want that as a poster, honestly.
There's probably a poster of this.
Probably. Let me go look up on my for a wallpaper.
Did you know there's a Bahubali video game? It's a thing, and it's like Clash of Clans, but
Guys, twitch.tv/novicinepod. We're gonna be playing Bahubali, the video game.
now,
Yeah, there's like a 6-minute video for it on YouTube.
so
Okay, talk about that
so
later.
so Mike, favorite
Yes.
moment
My
with
favorite
for
moment-
Bahubali, the character.
Oh, for the character. Oh, it's a different question. My favorite moment to go where my brain was already headed, and we'll
Okay.
circle back to your actual question. My favorite moment is after all of this, we have the head fall down the waterfall, and we have the shrine that he placed there in the first movie, and then credits roll, and like that's the end of the story. Like that to me was like a perfect ending of like, yeah, destiny, prophecy, it's all been fulfilled. We're going back to where this all started for us, the viewer, which I thought was really a nice way to end this duology. Favorite moment for either Bahubali? There's so many. I don't know if I can actually pick one, but one that stands out is when we get back to present day and they're launching their attack, and you see the numbers that they have. It's like a fraction of the entire army for this nation, for this kingdom. And he's just like, yeah, we got this. Come on, just believe in yourself. And I love, like, you mentioned the anime protagonist energy
One
that
of
he
us
gives.
is an
where it's
army
just-
in and of itself.
essentially, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we start like getting creative. We get weird with it. Everybody with their shields, they climb the tree, they catapult themselves over the walls, and it's just like, I don't know how we pulled this off, but good job, guys. Good job, team. I love to be a good ragtag group of fighters. That's not a Hamilton reference, I swear, but I just
Guns
love
and
that. I just love that entire concept. Maybe that's just me being a shonen protagonist, just stan. Like, I just love me a good shonen protag, and he essentially fits that bill. And that's just the iconic Naruto's gonna give a speech, and all of the ninja in the war are gonna go give it their all and win
Yes.
the fight.
Because he shared his chakra with everybody.
He didn't,
It's
though.
very much a Optimus Prime and Captain America moment. Like,
Right.
I will
close
follow
to
this
that.
man into any.
That's a
battle.
better reference.
Yeah.
So for me, it's something simple. It's something instant. It's not an epic scene per se. It's an epic moment for me because so we're at that moment where we know that Amarenda Bahubali is about to be killed, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to save Katappa, and you have the shower of arrows that hit him, and all the arrows actually hit. And my boy stands up, grabs a sword, and just goes like this, and just takes them all off. And I'm like, bet, I'm good. Go.
If you ever needed the definition of plot armor, that's what it looks like. Like, there's the man's not wearing.
Can we call it plot armor when we know he's gonna die anyway?
But he didn't die from the arrows. That's why it's plot armor. It's like he took 20 arrows in the back and just cut them off.
And all the arrowheads are there, are in his back,
Mhm.
embedded. He actually pulls one off to be able to free Katappa from his cuffs.
Honestly, like, it's a great moment. That's one of the most unrealistic things in the entire movie. If you took all them freaking arrows, but the one sword is what took you out.
Well, it's like
It's an Achilles heel type of situation.
But then again, it's the kind of plot armor that is satisfying for the story. And this is a mild spoiler of John Wick, very mild. But it's like that moment where he takes the coat off and you can hear all the bullets hit the ground.
Which
it's just
that's
like
the best plot armor. You got a bulletproof suit and you just okay.
No, literal plot armor.
My theater applauded when that happened. Like, throughout the entire movie, that one quiet, still moment where he takes the jacket off and the bullets fall off, everybody was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is cinema!"
No, and then when he takes the vest and more bullets fall off.
This one, like, we applauded when that happened. When he took the vest off, this one guy was just like, "Oh my gosh!" He just freaked out. It's like, yeah.
So that's where they all went. Like,
So good. That's
Oh, and speaking of in relation to like plot armor moments, this is also a movie where um Mahangra Bahubali and Katappa have some of the best like uncle and nephew fight scenes or fight intros throughout.
yes.
so can we talk
Like it
about how
just
they share the Leviathan X? Like,
He just throws it. No look, catch.
he's like, Bahubali, you gonna help me?
yo,
You gonna,
and he
bruh,
just
you gonna
knocks
help
the
me here?
tree, and the tree just takes everybody out. And
Again, like perfect situation.
yes,
And then that intro scene when whenever the Raiders invade the Southern Kingdom and they just take them on like it's nothing, and that one shot of all of them coming down the hill, I'm just like, Bahubali and Katappa, y'all can't take them, but I know for a fact you actually can.
This is
So
what I
like,
want to see from
keep this
Batman and
going.
Nightwing. I like legit. This is the type of chemistry I want to see from Batman and Nightwing.
Oh, I got a great example for you as well to add to that. Back to the MCU. One of my favorite moments in the entire
the
franchise
MCU's walking
happens
away
in.
from this particular podcast like with a black eye and
They're
notes.
writing down ideas. Kevin
Yeah.
Feige's watching this
They get notes.
like wow, they're going ham on us. Yo, we need to fix all this. But to add to what Mike said about Batman and Nightwing, my favorite moment in the entirety of the MCU is in Infinity War, right when it's the Wakanda scene, and T'Challa tells Shuri to let the shield down. The monsters come running in. They do the whole Wakanda Forever thing,
Right.
and they just cut to a scene of exactly yes, Bombay. They run and they cut to a scene of Black Panther and Captain America being the first two to charge into this fight.
Yes,
That's what these moments feel like to me.
yes,
The two leaders, the two arguably the strongest super soldiers in this universe, are the
yes.
first to make contact with the enemy.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is what Bahubali and Katappa moments throughout this entire movie
Yes.
give
For a
me.
brief moment, Captain America and
Yes,
Black Panther ended racism. It was just over.
Very brief moment.
Annihilated for that
Mhm.
moment.
And you know
Like,
what's
this is the America everyone wants.
That's the dream.
and you know what's crazy, because I love how you see that moment, right? And I love how in the same movie, in the same battle, you get another moment like that when Thor arrives, and suddenly they actually have a moment to go, hey man, how you been? Oh, there's my friend
Ain't seen you in 2 years.
Mouse and Tree. Like, hey, cool. And then you just keep on fighting.
I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers.
I am Steve.
Yes.
Rogers.
Steve Rogers. Yes. Steve Rogers emblemizes what America should be. It sounds like we should do a Captain America podcast. A different note for a different day.
We'll circle back to it.
But yeah, I'm with y'all because again, that moment when the army invades the Southern Kingdom, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Because they just jump right into action. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like Kato's like, nephew, give me a sword.
Yeah,
Do what you gotta do. We'll take care of this.
Can we go?
I was gonna say it's very much Uncle Iroh energy that he gives to young
There it is.
Bahubali. You're welcome. It was coming, but I just love that relationship, and it's so cool as we go back to fight for the throne. That's Avatar season 3.
What I do love also is going back to great female characters, right? I love how in the beginning parts. I don't know how we ended up in the beginning again, but that works.
This is the conclusion. Dang it!
I
Not the
said
beginning.
I said like 15 minutes ago that we were ending the podcast, but then suddenly we're back in the beginning of the movie. But one of the things that just came up to me right now that I love is that we gave equal importance to each of the two main characters that fall in love with each other. We gave importance to how each of them falls in love with each other. And I love that for the first 20 minutes, it's all about Amarendra just falling in love with Devasena. But then when the war breaks out and she sees Bahubali be Bahubali, you can see that they're taking moments. So this is it. This is how it happens. This is where she says, yes, show me how to throw the arrow. Let's kick ass together. So I love the chemistry and the synergy in that.
That's when she said Zaddy in that moment. She was like, "Oh, you sir, hi, you got that Riz. Okay, you got
Hello.
that. All right, Exactly.
She grabbed his hand and just like, "Oh, you got that dog in you." Dude was just like, "Oh."
hmm
That
hmm
was that.
And
And
also,
sorry,
shout out to Devastator's like best moment, or one of her best moments, where when they're at the baby shower essentially, and she's like, "You like making promises? I want the throne. That's what I want, sir.
Damn.
I'm giving you mess. I'm giving you conflict. That's what
Homewrecker.
I want."
I can talk about this movie for days, man. I love this so much. This
Yes.
this franchise. It's only two of them, but I could have taken like two
So
more.
apparently, there's novels,
Mhm.
there's comic books, there's actual series that are prequel to the prequels, and like, I don't know, bro. There's a whole thing apparently.
Where can you go from here? Like, I feel like we learned everything.
That's the thing. You think you know,
Oh
but you
man,
We
don't.
can do a post what Bahubali and Avantika have been up to after. See how they're now ruling the
If anything,
kingdom.
I would get Avantika her own show. Damn it, we haven't seen
Mm.
enough.
that's the type of
A
stuff
Legend
Disney
of
Plus needs
Avantika?
to
I'm
invest
down.
in.
I'm down for
I'm there,
that because
day one.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to see this in theaters.
I think we all enjoyed this one a bit more than the first one, but as a whole, as a duology, what a great set of
Beautiful.
films. Rajamouli, you did it again, man.
My goodness, this is why I think for all of us, we this is why we love cinema. This is why we love international cinema as well, because if we can't find it here in our own country, well, we can find it anywhere else because someone has made what you were looking for. It's out there. You just got to search. You just got to do your due diligence. And we just got lucky that RR dropped. And then it was
That
like,
opened
oh,
the
y'all
door.
put the rest of his movies on Netflix?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what,
Oh, and we did it in the
that's
first
that's
one.
what
I'm
I'm
gonna do it
talking
here
about.
again. Netflix. Thank you.
Chat.
Thank you for being a hub for international property.
Thank you for recommending these two movies for us because clearly we've had a blast. If you've got anything else,
Yes.
let us know in the comments below.
Let us know what we need to see, what you want to hear our thoughts about. And I'm gonna say this now. For some reason, we find references in everything. If there's a movie that you think is gonna get all the references, let us know. We'll watch a movie to find all the references.
I have plenty for you.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
one person in the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem trailer reaction I did that was like, "You should check out Batman vs. the Ninja Turtles," and I'm just like, I did. That movie's amazing. If you want us to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Just let us know.
Give me a reason to watch this movie, and I will watch it.
Yeah, Zeke tells me a lot that there's a Batman versus Shredder fight that's epic in that movie.
Y'all need.
That like it's a
Neither of you
must
have
see.
seen it.
So I think we're doing
No.
this. I think we're doing this.
Watch that movie. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Okay, we're doing this.
I can take it out the library by like tomorrow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this particular session of the Shatter After, where we've talked Bahubali to the conclusion. We love talking international movies, and we have had a blast watching these Hindu Telugu movies. We have plans of covering Three Idiots and a bunch of other recommendations you guys have set out for us. And don't worry, they'll be coming out, and we want to know what your thoughts are on this film. You guys recommended it, we covered it, and we want more recommendations so we can cover and keep having conversation about this awesome franchise and genre of movies. Cliff, always a pleasure to have you here, bro.
Mm. No, it's always a pleasure just to partake because like these conversations, I love them. The movies that we get to watch, I love them. It's just y'all are exposing me to stuff. I'm exposing you guys. It's the beauty of community of cinema.
Yep.
It's the beauty of community of cinema. It's a great thing, and yeah, let us know if y'all want to keep doing this. If y'all want to see my face with Brandon and Michael for these series, let me know. Because again, I'm down if y'all want to turn this into something where we watch like fantasy epics from globally. I'm down for that. Just saying. If but yeah, thank you, appreciate it. And as always, you can find me at Cliff Cinema on Twitter. Check out the Splash Podcast. We literally our video for the Prince of Egypt and Apollo 13 will be out within like the next month or two and whatnot. So Yeah, as usual. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We have a lot of great stuff coming for the Shadow After very soon. We have a video coming out on God of War Ragnarok because we did take time to talk about that amazing PS5 game. We have a whole series on The Last of Us if you want to get caught up and keep talking about it because you guys have loved all the content we've done about it. What we got going on in Shadow After Daily, Mike?
We're just going to be here talking movies every few days or so, just doing some brief recaps. So a lot of stuff's happening here on the channel that you guys need to stay tuned for.
Yes. You want to follow us on Twitter at the Shadow After? You can follow us there. And you can also find me and Mike talking anime with our good friends Isaac and Jamie at the Amateur Otaku Pod, and a bunch of news and other shows that we're covering. So stay tuned for that if you want to find us talking anime. And as always, stay awesome, guys. Keep watching movies. Peace.